Aaron. Oh my goodness. Aaron Birnbaum, Cybersecurity. One of his early companies in the late, about 2016, was attacked. It's kind of the earlier days in cybersecurity. And there was a bunch of data that was exposed, and fortunate they didn't get to it, but it turned his life around. He's an avid reader. He started ordering every book possible, he said. He's watched a lot of videos. He needed to understand about cybersecurity. It just took over his life as described for, I believe he said, 2 years. So what did he end up doing? He ended up creating a platform with somebody else that helps others. He's there in New Hampshire. He's walking around downtown, looking at all these small businesses. How can I help them? Got involved with managed service providers, of course, which are small business outsourced IT. Very interesting discussion with Aaron. He's part of the ConnectWise PitchIT program this year. We opened the conversation with guitars. Not only does he love playing, but he loves making them too. Aaron, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for watching and for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because of working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Really good at
that.
Oh, yes, I do. What's your favorite chord? What's your favorite chord on the guitar?
My favorite chord on the guitar. Wow. Probably a G. You can play it so many different ways. You could play it pretty easily, and play it with one finger if you want.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pinz and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza Dash MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza Dash platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. Yeah, I think that was my first chord too. What you not only play, but you collect and you build.
Yes.
Those are three really different disciplines there. What is there one you like doing more?
I like to play. It's fun, and if I'm in a bad mood, I can turn on the amp and put on some distortion and just
grunge out.
And if I'm just feeling like trying to think, I'll just sit here and just do some picking. And but I like to build because you get to take a big block of wood at the beginning and then sweat your bejesus off, and it gets out the stress of the day because you're sanding the crap out of the thing.
But the neck, and then you got to add electronics to it and everything. I mean, there's a real art to it, or maybe there's more of a science to it.
I haven't built an acoustic well yet. I have built an acoustic, but I was not happy with it. And when you're dealing with wood, you glue, and then you unglue, and then you glue back, and then you unglue. And if you're a tone wood snob and everything, you got to have the perfect wood and no glue and everything. I'm not that crazy. I got a kit years ago from, I don't know, maybe my wife. And it was just put things together. And then I'm like, this is not that hard. And then I went out and got some wood and got a router and got some more tools and got a chisel. And then the necks are a pain in the butt, though. If I'm in a hurry, I'll buy a neck because it's a pain, and you can ruin wood very,
Yeah.
very easily. And,
Yeah.
but like I'm finishing up one for one of the guys that I work with. And it's like a Gibson SG style. So it's got like the devil
Yeah.
horn
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And that was a pain to sand because it's all contoured. I mean,
Right.
most guitars are, but usually
Yes.
they have like a front face. It's I'm still not done, but I bought a neck years ago and I wanted to use it, but I don't like it. So now I'm like buying gold fret wire and I have my template so I can make my cuts and everything. And it gives you a lot more appreciation for what goes into these things. And
Yeah, it
then
sure does.
you see a guitar in the pawn shop and you're like $200. All right. Then you see them when they're $5,000 and you go, yeah, I could see that. I could see that. So, but it's just something fun to do. And I started doing it a couple of years ago, and I made one for a friend of my daughter's. Then I made one for another friend of mine. Then a guy helped me out, and he wouldn't take money. And I said, hey, look, this is what I do. I in parts and wood, probably 200, $250
Right.
total for
Right.
something nice. But it's the hours and hours and hours of
Yeah.
work. But I usually just give them away. People are like, oh, I can't take this. I got to pay you. I'm like, no, you really don't. Just be happy. You're my friend, or you did something nice for me, or I like you, kid, and you're going places. So remember me. So
And play it.
and play it, yeah, and then bring it back when you're back in town, so I can adjust it because it probably still needs to be adjusted from time to time.
Yeah.
So
I see these videos when they compare like a little solo or some chords or something with like a Squire and a
yeah,
Telecaster and a Stratocaster and a Les Paul or, Gibson. And it is, subtle differences there.
yes, if you have an ear,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable because when I first started building, I'm taking a block of wood. So what's the difference? It's all in the
Right.
pickups, right?
Right.
It's not. There's Paul. What is it? Paul Reed Smith, PRS guitars. He used to
Not
be like a
familiar.
master builder at Fender, and then he went and started his own thing. And he is the king of tone wood snob. And at first, I was like, come on. And then, like right now, that Gibson SG is mahogany,
Wow.
and that is a really freaking heavy. But
Yeah.
B, the last one I built, the tone is the sustain is forever. It just goes and goes and goes and goes forever. I was who was asking me something? Somebody was asking me about guitars the other day, obviously because I have them in the background, but um, yeah, they were like, can you, the David Gilmour or the Inge Malmsteen, David Gilmour can get more out of one note than I can get in a
Right.
whole song.
Yeah, sure.
And, so I was writing that up, and then I went back and I listened to like a couple, like Dark Side of the Moon, some of the popular stuff, but his solo albums are really good too.
Yeah.
But he's got such, after listening, I'm a big music fan, and I can, if I'm listening to a song and like it's being covered or somebody else is doing it, I can tell that's not David Gilmour. I can tell that's not Eric Clapton. Or if I'm listening to a song, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Eric Clapton.
Right.
I'm telling you right now, he's playing, back in, I wish I could do it for like Dwayne Allman, but he's just, but it is, maybe it's just because I have heard so many of their songs.
Right.
But they definitely have, like David Gilmour has a distinctive tone.
Absolutely.
He has a distinctive sound.
Yeah.
And Clapton is all over the place, but he kind of has a distinctive sound. I was listening to
Sure does.
Robbie Robertson from the band.
Yeah.
Had a couple solo albums, and I'm listening to one. I'm like, man, that sounds like Eric Clapton. And I go and I look in the liner notes and everything. In the old days when we had,
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, guitar by Eric Clapton. I'm like, all right, good, I got it.
Talking about wood, I think it was Ted Williams who would actually go into the woods and pick out the trees he wanted his bats made out of. Yeah, I could tell a lot of leads too. Also, I'm having an old from Toto. What's his name?
Yeah. Which
I
one?
could the guitarist, the lead guitarist, the best, one of the best in the world. I can't remember his name all of a sudden, but I could tell a lot of times when it's him. I could tell. Yeah, I could definitely tell Gilmour.
Steve Lukather.
Lukather, of course, Lukather. And I see these videos like if the Beat It song, Beat It Michael Jackson that Eddie Van Halen did, if Lukather did it, or if David Gilmour did it, or if Mang Vang Sing did, or if Jimi Hendrix did it, and how it's fascinating what we can do now with that. And they're right on. Also with the drums too, you see a lot of that too. If Stuart Copeland played some of the Rush songs, from the Police, played some of the Rush songs, and how he would, it's fascinating to. How long have you been playing guitar?
43 years on and off.
Yeah.
I'm older than I look.
And do you play in a band? Do you gig at all?
I don't. When I was younger, when I was in college, I would play with a bunch of guys every once in a while. And then when I lived in New York for a while, I'd go to like blues stuff and, get up and play a little bit. But it's, I honestly am not that good. And sometimes you get people that are like really intense about who's allowed up and who's allowed to come back. And, my daughter is a singer. And so grew up, taught her how to play basic chords and stuff. And then she taught herself how to play the piano and she sings. So every once in a while we get together, but it's just, for me, it's, people have a hobby that do it for a job. Don't like it.
Right.
They don't like it. Like my stepbrother's an incredible photographer. He's amazing. I mean, he's had exhibits and stuff, and people are like, "Well, why don't you put together portfolios?" No, I don't want to. Because then it's not fun. Like my daughter sings. She sings in an a cappella group, and it's fun. And she's, humble brag here, I had Amy Winehouse's producer, through a friend of a friend, listen to her sing, and he's like, "Wow, how old is this girl?" And she was like 13 at the time.
Wow.
And he's like, "I'm gonna keep my eye on her." And my friend was like, "Look, if she wants to do it, she could do it, but that's your life, 24/7 for the next 10 years to get a shot." And my kid wants to go to med school, so she likes to sing. I get it. I like to play. If I had a bunch, of old guys like me, and we sat around and drank some beers and maybe played a guitar too, I might consider it. But to me, it's more just fun. I mean, I'm the story guy. I have a story for like everything. Like you can't see it, but behind me there's an amp that was made by my friend Mark, who's no longer with us, but he was a veteran, and he was in electronics in the Army. Got out of the Army, started build a really good guitar player, and started building amps. And so I have one of the few amps he made before he passed away, and like I'll have that forever. And it's the tube amps that he hand wired, and so I get to be a sound snob.
And also, it's also the task of a great guitarist to not get in the way of a great song. Sometimes we have, these guitarists, it's all about them. We still want to hear a good song. There's a big difference there, and there's some kind of musicianship that, like Frank Zappa, right? Like that kind of music is all about the musicianship, and it's all about, the harmony and everything. Are they great songs? We could debate, but it's really, that's really, and Lukather does a good job of that. Also, God, another senior moment. The guy, John, Your Body is a Wonderland.
Mayer.
John Mayer, a great guitarist, but he does a good job of getting out of the, still letting the song be the the real thing. And musicianship is wonderful. So before the age of 18, Aaron, what were you doing? What were some of your passions?
Before the age of 18, I like to read. I find that when I've moved around a bit, and every time I go in, I look at a house or I look at an apartment to rent, and they have it staged and everything. There's always a TV in every single room, and there's not a bookcase to be found. So I read, and I learn through reading. Like some people love to watch YouTube, and they just pick it up. I read in a book, I can pick it up.
Wow.
So I have lots of paper here and lots of paper out in the bookcases out there that I brought with me from the last place. And but what did I do? I played a couple sports.
Which sports?
Have a let's see, in the fall, cross country. Sometimes my brother played soccer very well, so I have a brother who was recruited by different Division I schools, play different sports.
Wow.
Yeah, he's still an incredible athlete. And so I was his goalie or defensive guy who
Huh.
would practice and light me up. So I get to be pretty good at defense. But I
Right.
used to run. I used to run cross country. In the winter, I swam and dove, and in the spring, I did track pretty much. Just keep me out of trouble more than anything.
So when did tech come into your life?
I was thinking about this the other day. I got my first computer when I was 13, and
Which was a
Franklin Ace 1200 with a
Oh.
128K hard
Yeah.
drive, and I had two monitors. I had the green phosphorus monitor and then
Yeah.
a little color one. I was high tech,
Very nice.
and we had one at like our middle school. I want to say it was an Apple, at our middle school, and so learned BASIC pretty quickly because it's not that hard. Picked it up, was programming stuff, and then started getting into playing games because that's what we did. And really just kind of liked it and saw the potential for it. Still have that computer. It's in my basement after moving about 87 times. And just kind of use technology wherever I went. If I had a job and I could use technology, I would. I did a lot of sales and marketing when I was younger and did some consulting. But I did a lot of sales and marketing, and I would have spreadsheets, and people are like, "What's that?" I'm like, "That's just my customer database or my partner list. Name, address, phone number." And they're like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And I would always be better organized and be able to sell more and sell better than others because I used the technology. And I remember in 95, 94, 95, I gotta remember. Wow, 94, 96, I was in Denver, Colorado, and I remember watching Netscape go public because I was going to school out there, and they're like, "Here's your schedule, here's your student ID, here's your email address," and I'm like, "Whoa, what's an email address?" And they looked at me like I had three heads because I guess I did. But they said, "Go to the computer lab and ask them. They'll explain it to you." And so I went to the computer lab. There was a very, very, very attractive young lady who I became friends with. I haven't seen in years. Wow, I haven't thought about her in a long time. But she's like, "Oh, it's this and da 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 da." And I'm like, "So I can communicate with anybody, anywhere, all over the world." She's like, "Yeah, save an email address." And I'm just like, "This is huge. Like, does everybody have this?" She goes, "Yeah, pretty much, old man, you know?" And I'm like, "I get it." And then I wanted to send a big file. I'm like, "How do I send a file?" "Well, you use FTP." "What's FTP?" And I learned about FTP. And then I was like, wow, I could see the huge, huge advantages. Like a lot of the people, I didn't think about security, but I could see the huge opportunities for like community, for collaboration, for information sharing. And I was in New York, and a friend of mine worked for the Globe, which I don't know if anybody remembers that, but that was really one of the first big online communities.
Was it
And
really?
they ended up not making it. And then while I was going to school in Denver, I ended up working for a magazine, and one of the guys who kept bringing the stuff over to the Server Spirit to have it printed was like, "We should be online." I'm like, "What do you mean we should be online?" Like, "We should have our own webpage." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do that." And so Pulp magazine was like one of the first 10 online magazines.
Wow.
And I'm like, people all over the world can see what we're doing and send us, views and emails and messages, and we can tell our advertisers we hit a global audience. So it was kind of cool. Still have friends from that day and all over the place. But I understood, I guess, technology more so than most people. I worked for MCI in the mid late '90s before they got bought out. I'm like I said, I'm a little older than I look, and I was the national marketing manager for their campus division, their collegiate division. So calling cards on, like, you used to pick up the phone in your dorm room on a college, and you press 725, and it was your buddy's number. So they did that. They did calling cards, and we had an online portal where you could check your balance if you had a card, if you had a prepaid card, or how much you'd spent on long distance or whatever. And I remember sitting in a room and I'm like, okay, so where's the payment page? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you have these people, you have these customers, they're going to the web page to look at their bill. Why wouldn't you just put a payment option there? No clue. That's a good idea. We should do that.
Mm.
So again, I don't think I'm the smartest guy in the room, even when I'm the only guy in the room. But I do think that I have a modicum of intelligence and can kind of look at things and say, hey, how could we make this better? How could we make it faster, stronger? Whatever. How can we make it easier for people to use? When I used to build software, I used to have my young daughter and my older father test software. If they could both get through it, anybody could use it.
Yeah.
There's so much complexity. I see there's a 6-month implementation time frame to integrate this software into your system, and that'll cost $50,000. But it shouldn't be that way. And when I build software, I try to say, make it easy, make it simple, just get it to do what it does. It doesn't need to do 62,000 flashy things. It just needs to work and deliver whatever you want it to deliver.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypinz.com/book. Thank you. So what company got attacked with a cyber attack?
Oh, what company didn't?
That you were affiliated with.
Oh, that I was affiliated
Your
with.
company.
Okay.
Yeah, your company got attacked. Yeah.
So in 2003, I started a company called CITM .net, which was a big mistake, but I made a lot of mistakes, and hopefully I've learned from some of them not to repeat them. That's my goal. We had a data analytics CRM for healthcare marketing companies, so they could know I sold this many deals and I sold this product and this many got returned, and we had the ability to bundle everything together, have a consolidated billing system, blah, blah, blah. Again, not revolutionary idea, just application, good business, good market. So we've been in business for 13 years, and we've done the Hollywood thing. You miss the time with your wife, you miss the time with your kids, you stress, you don't eat well, you don't exercise, blah, blah, blah. But we finally had it figured out more or less, and we were making good money, and the business was not 75 hours a day anymore, and life was okay. It was pretty good, actually. And I get a call in the morning, and I will never forget this. And it was, Aaron, the website's down. What do you mean the website's down? The website doesn't go down. Now, this is before cloud, when such a thing would be unheard of. But we had backups, we had redundancy, we had failovers. I know because I architected them and I tested them. And I'm like, the website doesn't go down. This doesn't happen. And they're like, I don't know what to tell you. The website's down. Go fix it. So I'm like, okay, great. So I try to log into the website. Website's down. At the time, we had over 100,000 records of healthcare and financial services data. So credit cards, ACH, and then healthcare records because they were selling health insurance. And I like to call that a underwear changing moment. Like that moment in time was like one of the worst feelings I've ever experienced in my life. And with one or two exceptions, I really wouldn't want anybody else to have to do that, because it is horrible, because you think so many horrible things, least of which is your business is done, but best of which is, hey, guess what? There's huge fines for healthcare breaches. There's huge fines. This is, still 15 years ago, but there were some serious penalties for this. Luckily, well, not luckily, wisely, I had architected the system right. We had gone through a PCI compliance for payment audit, and we had our database, which was isolated. So they got into the application server. They got, they got into the web server. They kind of started getting in the application server, and we cut them out. But they never got to the database, and we could prove it. So it was like a, whew. But it was like they attacked my child.
Yeah.
And I was, I went a little cuckoo, not like, what's the word? Not literally,
Yeah.
but I was like, I got to figure out what happened. I got to make sure it never happens to me again because I don't ever want to feel like I did that day. And so I immersed myself in the world of cybersecurity. And I was, said to my partner, hey, I got to figure this out. Call me if you need me, but I'm not going to really be that available for a little while until I figure this out.
Hmm.
And that turned into about 2 years. So,
wow. And what year is this?
This would have been 2013 to, I'm sorry, 2016.
Wow.
So we got to 2016. And I read everything I could find. I'd go to the bookstore. I'd go to the library. I'd order books from bookstores. I would watch YouTube videos of like conferences and speakers and presentations. I was on every security, whatever you would call it these days. I mean, there was Peer List. LinkedIn was starting to be, significant in terms of data sharing and information, but it was a lot of like, Reddit groups and listservs and Discord server, just communities of, hey, I heard about this. How does that work? And the community for security was great. I cannot say enough of good things about it. I've done a lot of different things. I've worked in a lot of different industries, and they welcomed me, helped me. Nobody said you're an idiot, you're a noob, blah 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 blah. They said, hey, here's a resource, or I'll send you a paper, or they'll direct me to a link, or they'd explain it to me. And I've tried to, repay that by paying it forward and trying to help other people get into the space and have resources that they can use and they can have. And it was just a lot of learning. And I had a technology background, so it wasn't like I was starting from zero. But I, without a doubt, learned a tremendous amount. And when I finally kind of came back to reality, my partner had some different ideas than me. And so she went her way, I went my way. And I said, I got to figure out what I'm doing next. And I was walking around downtown Concord, New Hampshire, which is where I live. And I'm like, all these attorneys are here for the state and the government. And then you have the financial services and the accountants. And I'm like, I'm sure there's IT service providers, MSPs, what have you. But who's doing security for them? And I started talking to people, and they're like, "Yeah, I guess our MSP does that. I don't know." And so I said, "Well, did it before. How hard could it be to do again?" 30 years later, I said, so I started cybersecurity, and I started working with small, medium-sized businesses, and just general consulting. I wasn't pushing a product. I wasn't working for an MSP. I was just trying to be an objective observer and saying, "Hey, look, you need a firewall." And they said, "Well, what kind should we get?" I go, "Well, what's your budget? What do you need? Let's look at everything." And then I would say, "Well, it seems to me that you could go between, Cisco and Netgear or whatever it was." But I wasn't getting paid by Cisco. I wasn't getting paid by Netgear. I wasn't on a long-term professional services contract with them. I was really just, trying to help people. And then this little pandemic started. So that kind of put a little damper, but made me really realize how important trust is in security. Because I don't think about it now. I have lots of credentials and certifications, and I can talk the talk with just about anybody. But I didn't back then. And people were right to not just let me into their network and poke around. And I'm like, well, I can do this. And I have resources I could call on if I ran into a situation, which occasionally I did because we all learn, and I still don't know everything.
So that attack, did you ever find out who it was? Was it ransom? Was there trying to be a ransom attack? Like, what was the?
I was able to trace it to a Chinese IP address.
Wow.
And that's about it. It was an internet cafe. So
Amazing.
I don't hold a grudge against Chinese people because
why would you?
Why would I?
Yeah.
I like their food.
Yeah, I like them as well. So tell me about TRaViS.
So about 3 years ago, I was working on a project, and I met this guy who is, as I like to call the mad science, the rocket surgeon. He's one of them rocket surgeon guys. He just sees the world differently. He's a bug bounty, ethical hacker, penetration tester, and
Hmm.
a lot of people that do that will make their own tools. So they build their own scanner, or they build their own scripts, or they'll, whatever they have, because they know exactly what they want. They don't want to deal with anything else. And so he says, "Hey, I want to show you this." And he shows me this. At the time, was a vulnerability scanner. It would scan, a website or a API or whatever, and it would give you, here's the vulnerabilities for it. This is something you need to patch. You need to fix this. This is a way an attacker can. And I said, I remember that it was incredibly fast, and then he was pulling data and vulnerabilities on. I'm like, how did you get this? He's like, oh, I got some tricks. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you do, because that's incredibly fast. I'm like, did you take one of the many open source scanners and, just skin it? Or he goes, no, I built this from the ground up in Python. And this is before AI. So this was like years of work for him. And I said, this is really cool. I could, I've used a bunch of other tools, and this is by far the fastest. And I don't know anybody that's getting this and that. And so fast forward 3 years later, TRaViS ASM is a attack surface management solution. It thinks like an attacker. Most cybersecurity tools are built defensively to keep people out. Well, we built TRaViS to get in, because a criminal's gonna get in. A determined criminal will get in every single time. When there's events and conferences, they do like a capture the flag kind of scenario. Yeah. So the red team is the team that attacks, and the blue team is the team that defends. I always want to be on the blue team, because the red team always wins. Because the one time the blue team stops them, I want to be on that team. Because it's like, the best analogy I have is hockey goalie. You play great. You stop 155 shots. No score. With 3 minutes left, you let one goal in. You lose. You have to be 100%, 100% of the time. And now with the tools and the technology, it's getting more and more difficult. And the barriers are down. It used to be you would not attack a school. You would not attack a hospital. There was honor among thieves, because they weren't really thieves. Yeah. They were more like pranksters. They were hackers. They were pranksters. They would take things apart. They'd poke around and they'd have fun, but they weren't inherently malicious. Now it's organized crime. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry.
Yes.
Ransomware is a huge, huge problem. And, it's you get into a headspace as a security person. I discussing this with friends having drinks the other day. You get into a space where that's your reality. If you have friends that are military, special forces, they'll always walk into a restaurant, they'll do the scan, they'll look at every exit, and then they'll always sit with their back to the wall. They don't even consciously realize they're doing it, unless you point it out a lot of the time, because they've just been trained for so long. It's instinct, it's nature. So I will walk into a place and I will see not exits, but I'll say, oh, that person's cell phone's on the edge of their table. I could walk by and just go boop. Or I could walk over and stand next, look at a plant and be scanning them. Or, do a little Bluetooth trick and make their iPhone keep ringing and never stop, or little things like that. But again, hacker, prankster, not hacker, criminal. And hackers are the ones that are helping out and that are saving. And they're the guys and women that grew up, and they grew up on technology, or they got into technology, and they like it, and they understand that there's a lot of bad people out there. There's a lot of organized crime that deals with cybersecurity. There's a lot of other unsavory things that cyber technology has enabled. And it's like AI, because we got to talk about AI. It's a tool, right? It's a platform. It's a way to use to do something better and easier and faster. It doesn't necessarily do it for you, but it enables you. I was talking to a friend of mine who told me that he had encountered a collection racket where they would charge the people Bitcoin. They wanted them to pay in Bitcoin, their protection money. And I was like, wow, that's actually reasonably intelligent. So again, I mean, there's nefarious uses for it. The internet was never built for security. It's inherently insecure. The TCP/IP protocol, whatever, is inherently insecure.
Yeah.
So unless we want to rip the whole thing down, we got to figure out a way to deal with it. And there's, AI has brought us some great tools that can, again, be used for good or can be used for evil. And unfortunately, the problem with evil guys is they don't have rules. They don't have, you got to do this or you got to do that, or you can't do this or you can't do that. A lot of times a company will hire a security professional to go in and do a penetration test, whether electronic or physical. They will say, okay, well, you can only come in during this hours. You can't pick a lock or break a window. You can't lie I'm like, that's ridiculous because the criminals don't have those. They're not handcuffed by those. A penetration test should be go, see what you can do. And if you can get into my system, and invariably people do. And I hate when I read an article about a 4th generation family that's going out of business now because of a cyber attack. And it's not, you don't have to spend $1 million to secure your business. There's some very, very easy basic things like multi-factor authentication, complex passwords. Don't click links if you don't know where they're from. Don't download stuff if you don't know where you're downloading it from. And if you want to go crazy, spend $30 and get a YubiKey, get a little USB key that, will pretty much protect you against most problems that you're going to have. The other thing is criminals are lazy. Why would I bother if I try to attack you and I find, he's got a bunch of things in place to prevent me from doing that? I'm not going to go, well, he must be protecting something very important. I'm going to spend a lot of time on that. They go, no, I'm going to the next guy because he's got nothing and I'll be in and out. And if I have something, I have something. And if he doesn't, I'll go to the next guy and I'll go to the next person or the next person or the next person. And unfortunately, it's very easy to do. And so what TRaViS does is it looks at your exposed service. So that's your website, that's APIs, that can be your MCP servers if you're using AI now. It looks at JavaScript, it looks at a whole bunch of different things, GraphQL, all sorts of fancy buzzwords I could throw. But basically, it looks at your castle. You have a big moat, great, but there's a tree that fell in the back and it crossed the moat and went right into the princess's bedroom. So maybe we should do something about that. Our goal is we simulate what an attacker is going to do. We don't do anything illegal. We don't even we have a very well-defined line that we don't cross. We don't do automated pen testing. We find things nobody else finds because of the way we built the system and because of the way it works. We do use AI, but we actually have our own graphics cards and our own servers. So when we say it's our AI, it's our AI. It's not, you should never post anything never anything public in ChatGPT because it'll go out into the interwebs. And to some degree, that's true, but we've been training ours specifically on security. Is it a mythos? No, it's not a mythos, but it wasn't designed as a mythos either. But we have, my background as a small business owner is I understand what a small business owner deals with. I understand what, an MSP of 50 customers maybe is. You're watching your pennies. You're not going to spend money unless you're going to get a return or save money. So we have very low pricing. We make it really easy. People can they don't even have to talk to us. We had a client for a year, wouldn't talk to us. I don't know why. Loved our product, wouldn't talk to us. And if you're a bigger organization and you want to consolidate some of the 85 tools, the average enterprise is 85 security tools. So if you use TRaViS, you potentially could replace, I think it's 9. And you get it in a single pane of glass, which love that phrase, but you get one throat to choke. or one API to integrate to your system, and you get a lot of data points. But we also use external sources. We get log stealer files, dark web credentials. We give you a whole view of, hey, this is what an attacker is going to do, right? He's going to go look. Why would I spend an hour and a half trying to crack into your system if I can go on a Telegram channel and grab 50 logins from your company? I got a login and password. That's all. I'm good. It's easy now, and no alarms are going to go off. So that's something that companies have to think about as well. So I see a lot of organizations are going to, I think, eventually move to more of a platform than a single tool situation.
Aaron, is there
So that's
something,
TRaViS.
if we go back 10 years from now, is there something you strongly believed in then that you no longer believe now?
Yes, I believe that if you explain something to a business owner and show them it's going to make you money, it's going to save you money, it's going to protect you, it's going to enhance you, that they as business owners were savvy enough to understand it
Hmm.
and make the commitment. And in small businesses, I don't see it. I still
Yeah.
don't see it. And it kills me because they're the biggest target. There's 25 million small businesses in the US. They're the target because criminals know they don't have money. They're not going to spend $75,000 a year for a solution. They're just not going to do it. It's not worth it to them. Now, you could take 4 lawyers, 3 paralegals. That could be a $8-10 million a year business. So should you spend $4,000 or $5,000 to protect that? I would. A lot of them don't, and they're smart men and women. They just at the law. I don't. I don't drill my own teeth. I don't do my own taxes. I go to a professional when I need those things. And so when I go and I meet with them and I offer them my services, and I don't charge an inordinate amount. I work with a lot of nonprofits because I think it's important that these organizations, are protected. And like I said, I was this close to, being a huge victim. I don't know what my life would have been like then, but it's frustrating to me because I genuinely want to help people. Yes, I have to make a living. I have to eat. I have to feed. My kids got to go to college. Those things. But I really do want to help them. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they're like, "You were in healthcare. Now you're in technology." I'm like, "Same thing. I'm just trying to
Yeah.
help people. Just trying to help people." It's nice when you can help people and make a living. Just it's the environment is challenging, and usually there's leadership that's pushing, hey, more security, more security, more security, more security, and that's kind of lacking now. And I really hope that we get back to a place because I was watching a speaker today talking about the exploitation of children, and it was all facilitated with cybercrime and hacking tools to take over cameras and microphones. The number one cause of suicide for young men in the UK, I'm sorry, the number one cause of death for young men in the UK is suicide.
Hmm.
That is tragic. I mean, that's just, I can't imagine, as a parent, I can't imagine what that does to somebody. I mean, I feel horrible the kid decided that that was option A, but and I don't consider myself, oh my God, I can save lives. But I do know that there are a lot of amazing people out there that are doing things. They're tracking down missing children or exploited children. They're trying to put a stop to some of these just absolutely abhorrent things. And their mental health is damaged as a result of it. My mental health is gone. I don't think I ever had a mentally healthy.
Aaron,
And that's why I got to play guitar.
I started my managed service provider practice there south of you in New Haven back in the 90s.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was working way too hard and, 14, 16-hour days. You're no stranger to this. And putting my health kind of in the back seat and not working out anymore, etc. And not playing guitar anymore, just focusing on work. Next thing I know, I'm in front of the doctor and she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I had gained all this weight I knew I was getting big, but I didn't think I was getting that big, And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. My daughter was just born. Scared the life out of me. Spent the next 6, 7 months, lost about 120 pounds and kept it off. And people say, when I tell the story, they say, how did you do it? What's your secret? And I say, there's no secret, just discipline, right? Routine, focus, motivation. How does discipline play a role in your life, Aaron?
I got a dog because I'm lazy. If you have a dog, you have to take that dog out for a walk, because otherwise that dog will defecate in your house, and then you have to clean it up. It's easier for me to take the dog for a walk at the end of the day. My wife works part-time, so sometimes my wife walks with me, sometimes she doesn't. But if I don't go for a walk, I find myself grumpy and irritable and just, I don't want to say like depressed, but just lethargic. And just going for the walk for 20 minutes, half an hour. My wife is an excellent cook. I should probably weigh 340 pounds a way if she feeds me. But I think I definitely could thank genetics for a lot of this. But I've been about 20 pounds heavier than I am now over the years. I think it's a combination of it really is a combination of mental health and physical health, mens sana and corpore sano. But if you're not disciplined, if you don't do it every day, it's easy to fall out of it. It's like, it's raining. New Hampshire, it's snowing. I'm not going out. And I will say that I've definitely missed a day or 2 or 3 or 26 during the winter because there's 8 feet of snow up here. But the dog still has to go out. So there's that. And then, my wife was a professional athlete, so she's in great shape. And I, therefore, must also go with her when she wants to work out and exercise because she drags me along. That's, I got to keep up with her instead of the Joneses.
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pinz podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pinz merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pinz logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypinz.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pinz merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. So, where does discipline play a role in cybersecurity?
I'm going to go back to my experience again. So after we get breached and I'm out of my head, I have to find out how it happened. I just have to. And so I start going through and I look at log files and I trace it back. We had a policy. You don't do this. We did it. Not me, but somebody else did it. And I allowed it to happen because I didn't check. Having the discipline to follow the rules all the time is important. Social engineering is going to prey on that. This is the CEO. You need to wire me $5,000 in Apple gift cards or whatever the scam of the week is. If you have a policy, if you have a process that says any expenditure over $1,000 must be approved in writing, then you're off the hook. Because the psychological manipulation, the mastery of the manipulation of some of these horrible human beings, it is just mind-boggling how they can get people to do things that's not in their best interest, not in the organization's best interest, and can cause them to be fired, to be criminally prosecuted. But they do it. They're going to call you Friday at 4:30. You want to check out, right? So you're going to, I want to go for the weekend. I want to go do something. I'm going to a concert. I'm going to see my friends, whatever it is. I just want to get out of there. So those policies, those rules, the discipline of following those kind of goes out the window. And they know that, which is why that's when you go and you attack. If you have a policy, we don't wire money. then the CEO is never going to ask you to wire money. If you have a policy that says you must have a long, complex password, you're not going to use password 123. So if you have the policies, and you have to think about, the threats in order to build out good policies. But if you have those policies in place, you could have the best social engine. I'd love to, but I can't. Like, I cannot do it. Could I in theory? Yeah, but you're going to really have to persuade me really, really hard, which is going to eliminate a lot of, the easier stuff. If you get a business email compromise, they call, when you get an email and it says, hey, this is Dave, I'm the CFO. I know you're new here, because somehow they always know when somebody's new at a job, then I need you to arrange this wire, blah, 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 blah. If you have a policy that says you don't ever wire money, only 3 people in the organization are allowed to, transmit money or receive money or sign an invoice or sign a check. If you have that discipline, you're not going to fall victim as easily, I'll say, because nothing's perfect. But if you have those policies in place to address potential issues like that, you're going to be better off. And and again, I look at myself and I'm like, we had the policy, so I was trying to do the right thing, but we didn't enforce it and we didn't verify it. We didn't verify the people who were doing it. And so I own that. That's me. And I don't like that. I don't like to live that. I think that in terms of discipline, it's a very misunderstood concept to a lot of people. A lot of people think it's the military. You got to stand up straight every day and you got to yes sir, no sir, and crease your pants. It's not. It's following the regimen, whatever the regimen is. If the regimen is you only get to eat 6 cookies a day, you have to have the discipline to only eat 6 cookies a day. And some people are like, I eat 1 cookie a day. That's fine. Your discipline and my discipline are probably, significantly different, because what's more of a priority to me may not be more of a priority to you. What you do in your home and your community and your free time is what you do. And you probably do it with regularity when it's good for you, and hopefully not when it's not so good for you. My wife doesn't drink alcohol. I like scotch, but I don't like to drink alone. And she doesn't like scotch. So I don't drink a lot of scotch. I have a bit of scotch, but my wife gets me a bottle of scotch every year for Christmas. And usually by the end of the year, it's gone. But not always. Because I don't want to drink alone. Not because I have alcoholism in my family. I just don't want to I don't want to be the guy that goes home and drinks by himself. To me, it's a fun thing to do with friends.
Social.
Right. But I know people that don't have a history of alcoholism that have issues with alcohol now because of their environment. So there's another example of personal discipline and health discipline. The other thing is, I've been working out of my house since 2003, but I have pants on. I have a shirt on. And usually actually I have a soft collared shirt on, but today I was thinking about putting my hoodie on because it has a big TRaViS logo, but I didn't. I get up every morning. I brush my teeth. I wash my face. Take a shower sometimes. Most of the time I take a shower. I brush my hair. I clean my glasses. There's things that people do that for self-discipline that they don't even think about. They're like, well, of course I brush my teeth. That's disgusting. Of course you got to brush your teeth. Well, my daughter has had like 6 or 7 cavities filled one time because she didn't floss. She's like, I'm brushing all the time. What's the problem? I'm like, you got to floss. So now, every day, I'm like, or you can go back and get 9 cavities filled. It's up to you. And that's the thing. If you have that discipline, you avoid that pain.
You're in the PitchIT program this year at ConnectWise. Really cool program. Yeah, good luck. I appreciate your time today, Aaron. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Smoke signals.
Nice.
I would say I'm on LinkedIn a bit. You can go to Seron, SERON, security.com. You can send me an email at Aaron, 2 A's, at seronsecurity.com. You can send me Aaron at TRaVisASM.com. Or call my cell phone if you have it. And if you don't, I don't know what to say.
Very good. We'll make sure to put those up on the show links. Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you this in the fall there at IT Nation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.